The leather-bound book under the chair, the studio lights flickered softly as the crew moved around, adjusting cables and props for the final scene of the day. It was a quiet evening shoot, with fewer people on set. Keanu Reeves sat on the edge of a wooden crate, sipping from a warm cup of tea. The day had been long, filled with intense emotional takes. The film they were working on was about healing, loss, and finding family in unexpected places. Keanu liked that kind of story. Ana de Armas had just finished her last shot. But peaceful, walking slowly toward the corner where her bag and coat were placed. The quiet hum of the set made everything feel calm, almost like a sacred silence before a storm. As she bent down to pick up her coat, a small object slipped out and slid under one of the director's chairs. She didn't notice. The crew was distracted. Packing up lights and discussing camera angles for tomorrow, Keanu stood up to stretch and spotted something under the chair. It looked like an old, leather-bound book, worn and soft at the edges. He walked over, bent down, and picked it up gently. The cover had no title, just a faint silver heart embossed in the center. He turned it over in his hands. It had a feeling to it like something that had been held close for many years. He called out softly, "Anna, did you drop this?" When she saw what was in his hands, her face froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. It was like the air had left her lungs. Keanu noticed her change in expression. "It's okay," he said gently. "I just found it under the chair." Yana slowly walked over and took the book from his hands. She held it close to her chest, like someone trying to protect something very fragile. "Thank you," she whispered. Then, almost without looking at him, she added, "Please, don't open it ever." Keanu nodded. Of course, but something about her voice, something about the way she held that book, made him feel a weight in his chest. It wasn't just a diary, it was something else, something buried. She turned and left the set quickly. It's almost as if she couldn't bear to be seen. The next day, Anna didn't come to set. No one said why. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she just needed a break. The director adjusted the schedule. The scenes without her were filmed first. Keanu kept thinking about the diary, not because he wanted to read it, but because of the look on her face. It wasn't fear. It was pain, deep, old pain. That night, Keanu returned to his trailer. He tried to sleep, but couldn't. His thoughts kept going back to her hands trembling around that book. He remembered how she looked the first day they met on this project. Full of light, but also distant, like her smile was painted on top of something else. He didn't want to invade her privacy, but he also knew something was wrong. On the third day, Yana still didn't show up. A production assistant mentioned she was on a break for personal reasons. Keanu nodded. He didn't ask more. That evening, when everyone had left and the set was empty, he walked back to the same corner where she dropped the book. He wasn't sure why he did it. Maybe he was looking for a sign. Maybe he just wanted to feel close to her. And there it was again, the diary. Someone must have found it and placed it back in her bag, but now it had fallen again. Or maybe she left it. Keanu picked it up. His fingers shook as he opened the cover. The first page said, in soft handwriting, "This diary belongs to Ana Celeste Armas. If you found this, in your reading, please be kind. This is all I had when I had no one." Keanu closed the book. His heart pounded. He didn't want to read more, but something about those words, "when I had no one." He sat down on the edge of a prop bench, holding the diary gently. Like a bird with broken wings, he opened it again a few pages in. And he began to read. May 4th, Havany was 13 today. Mama forgot again. Papa said he'd come home before dark. But he never did. I sat by the window until the lights went out. I told myself I didn't need cake or candles, or anyone. But the truth is I just wanted to be seen. August 19th, Los Angeles got the role. They said I looked perfect for it, but they don't know I cried in the bathroom before my audition. They don't know I haven't spoken to my brother in 2 years. They don't know that my accent still, as people laugh when I walk by. Sometimes I wish I was invisible. Other times, I wish someone would see the real me and not just the actress. Keanu stopped reading. His chest tightened. This wasn't just pain. This was a lifetime of trying to be strong alone. He closed the diary again, holding it tightly in both hands. He wanted to protect it, Not just the book, but the girl behind those pages. He didn't know what to do yet, but he knew this. He would not let her carry this alone anymore. The next morning brought the diary to set. He asked for Anna. They said she hadn't come in again. Keanu walked outside toward the edge of the lot where trailers lined up. He stood in front of hers. He didn't knock. He just sat on the step. Holding the diary, minutes passed. Then the door opened. Anna stood there, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked at the book in his hands. "You read it?" she whispered. Keanu didn't lie. He nodded. Anna looked away. "I told you not to." His voice was soft but steady. "I'm sorry. Didn't mean to hurt you. But I couldn't stop thinking about the girl who wrote those pages. And I thought maybe she shouldn't be alone anymore." Tears rolled down Anna's cheeks. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she sat beside him. "That diary was the only place I told the truth. I didn't think anyone would ever see it." Keanu nodded. "I did. And it broke me. But it also made me see you, really see you." Anna leaned her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in years, she let herself be silent, not feel alone in that silence. A voice behind the pages, Anna, stayed quiet beside him for a long time. The early sun warmed the side of her face. Her breath was slow, like she was letting go of something heavy. Keanu didn't rush her. He just sat there, grounded and present. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I started writing in that diary when I was 10. I didn't even have a lock on it. I used to hide it behind my bed frame, thinking it would keep the world out." Keanu listened without interrupting. Anna looked at the book in his hands. "Every time I felt like I was about to fall apart." "Right. It helped me remember who I was when everything outside felt fake. The cameras, the interviews, the 'you're so lucky' comments." She shook her head softly. No one ever saw what it cost. Keanu glanced down at the worn cover, thinking about the pages he had read. "I saw," he said, "and now I can't unsee it, and I don't want to." Anna's eyes filled again, but she didn't look away. For the first time, she didn't feel ashamed of being seen. Later that day, she joined the crew on set again. People smiled and welcomed her back. But something had changed. Anna was quieter, more grounded. Keanu never left her side for too long. Their scenes together started to carry a different kind of weight. It wasn't just acting anymore. It was like they were pulling something real from each other. During one emotional take, Anna broke down in the middle of her lines. The director started to call cut, but Keanu raised a hand gently. He walked over to her, no script in hand. He just stood in front of her and whispered something no one could hear. Anna nodded, wiped her face, and began again. This time her voice cracked, raw and real, and the entire set fell silent when the take ended. No one clapped. They just stood still, moved. That night, Keanu found a note slipped under his trailer door. It was from Anna. It said, "Thank you for seeing me. I'm scared, but it feels less scary with you here. There's more in the diary. Things I've never told anyone. If you want to know me, really know me. I want you to read it, only if you still want to." Keanu folded the note and held it in his hands for a long time. He didn't need to think. He already knew. He opened the diary again that night. He started from where he left off, September 2nd. New York. He was asked today in an interview if I ever felt like giving up. I said never. But the truth is, I've thought about it many times. Not because I don't love acting, but because sometimes silence after the applause is the loudest sound I hear. December 12th. Los Angeles said I was too emotional. He said I wouldn't make it if I kept being so sensitive. He didn't understand that my sensitivity is my strength. I feel everything. Too much, maybe, but it makes me real, even if the world doesn't want real. Keanu closed the book. He leaned back on the couch in his trailer, eyes wet but clear. He thought about how many people might walk past someone like Anna, seeing only the surface, the smile, the hair, the fame, never realizing how deep the river runs beneath. He realized something else too. He had his own silence, his own unspoken thoughts, and maybe that's why her words hit him so hard. They weren't just her story. They were a mirror. The next day, Keanu brought coffee to Anna's trailer. He handed it to her with a small nod, and she smiled, small but true. "You read more?" she asked. He nodded. "I want to keep reading," he said. "But only with you." Anna paused. Then she did something unexpected. She took out the diary, opened it to a blank page, and handed him a pen. "Then let's write together," she said softly. "Your story, too." Keanu looked at the blank page, unsure. "I haven't written anything personal in years," he admitted. Anna smiled. "Then it's time." They sat outside under the shade of a quiet oak tree near the back of the studio lot. She handed him the diary. He took a breath. Then slowly he began to write. "My name is Keanu. I've spent a lot of my life being quiet, not because I don't have anything to say, but because I was afraid that if I spoke, people would look at me different, like I was broken or weak, or just not enough." Anna watched him write, her eyes soft. He handed the diary back. She read it, then nodded. "You're more than enough." Keanu didn't speak, didn't need to. For the first time in a long while, someone saw him too. Weeks passed. Filming continued. The movie grew deeper. Because of them, the bond between Anna and Keanu was no longer just part of the script. They shared mornings, lines, silence. And truth, sometimes they wrote in the diary together. Sometimes they just held it between them like a thread. One night, after a long shoot, Anna sat on the ground backstage, tired. Keanu walked over and sat beside her. "Remember the first time I picked this up?" he asked, holding the diary. "How could I forget?" she said, a smile flickering. "It broke me," he said. "But maybe some things have to break, so they can heal the right way." Anna looked at him, eyes full of quiet strength. "Maybe," she whispered, "maybe we both needed to be read, not just watched." They didn't speak more that night, but their silence had meaning, and between them sat the old, leather-bound diary. No longer just a place for pain, but now a place for healing. Stories we never tell allowed the last few weeks of filming. Moved like a river steady and filled with quiet power. The story they were making had always been deep, but now something stronger filled each scene. The connection between Keanu and Anna wasn't just acting anymore. It came from something raw, something shared in silence and ink. They kept the diary between them like a sacred thread. Every few days, one of them would write in it, then pass it on. Some pages were long, others were just a single sentence, but every word mattered. One day, during a break between takes, Anna handed the diary to Keanu. He opened to a fresh entry she had written the night before. "It still hurts when people smile at me and say, 'You've made it.' As if making it means the pain goes away, as if success is a cure. But I don't want to be cured. I want to be real. I want someone to still love me even when I'm not shining." Keanu stared at the words. They pulled something deep out of him. He closed the diary, took a breath, then opened to the next blank page. And he wrote, "I've been called strong, quiet, wise. But no one ever asked me where I go when I feel weak. No one ever asked if I cry when no one's looking. But I do. Not because I'm broken, but because I'm human." When he handed it back to her, Anna didn't say anything. She just pressed her hand over the cover, like she was holding his words inside her chest. Later that week, a small moment changed everything. They were filming. A heavy Sanana's character was supposed to break down and scream. It was scripted. She had prepared for it. But when the cameras rolled, she froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Everyone waited then. Without thinking, she stepped out of the scene and walked off set. The director frowned, ready to call her back, but Keanu followed her quietly. He found her sitting on the floor near the costume trailers, head in her hands. She wasn't crying. She was just empty. He sat beside her. "I thought I was ready," she said. "You don't have to explain," Keanu replied. "But I do," she whispered, "because everyone thinks I'm so strong now, just because I let someone read my pain. But some days it still feels like too much." Keanu reached into his coat and pulled out the diary. "Then let's write today down," he said. even if it's messy. Especially if it's messy. She took the diary and wrote, "Today I couldn't do it. Today, the pain didn't want to be seen, and that's okay. Because healing isn't always a perfect line. Sometimes it curves. Sometimes you just need someone to sit beside you in the curve." She handed the book back, and they sat there, quietly as the sun began to fall behind the trees. The next morning, director approached them with something unexpected. "I've been watching the two of you," he said. "You've brought something into this film that wasn't in the script." Keanu looked at him. "What do you mean, your scenes, your pauses, the way you look at each other? It feels like you're carrying more than lines. It feels lived." Anna lowered her eyes. The director continued, "I want to change the final scene. I want it to end, not with a dramatic goodbye, but with silence. A kind of understanding. Two people who've seen each other. Really seen each other." Keanu and Anna looked at each other. No words needed. They understood. On the day of the final scene, the set was quiet. Not because of tension, but because of respect. Anna and Keanu walked onto the stage, stood face to face, and let the moment carry them. No dramatic words, no forced motion, just stillness. Then Keanu reached out and gently held Anna's hand, not as a character, but as himself, and the cameras rolled. After the final cut, the crew stood silent, unsure if they should clap. Then slowly, the sound of hands filled the air, but Anna and Keanu didn't move. They stood together in that moment, holding on to the stillness, because they knew what it had taken to get there, and what it meant. That evening, the wrap party was filled with music, laughter, and light. But Keanu and Anna stayed outside most of the night, sitting on a bench beneath the stars. Anna held the diary in her lap. "Do you think we'll keep writing?" she asked. Keanu looked at her gently. "I think some stories never end. They just move to new pages." She smiled, then opened the diary and turned to a fresh page. "Write something," she said. He thought for a second, then wrote, "I met her as a co-star. I saw her as a friend. I read her as a story, but I carry her as something more now. Not a character, not a mystery, but a truth I never expected to find." Anna read it slowly. Then she leaned her head against his shoulder. "You always write the things I feel, but can't say," she whispered. "Maybe that's what this is all for," Keanu replied. "Not to fix each other, just to speak what's been quiet too long. But even in peace, life brings new tests." A week after filming wrapped, the diary went missing. Anna searched everywhere, her trailer, the set, her bags gone. She panicked. Keanu helped her search, turning over every corner. "It's just a book," she told herself. But it's not just a book. It was their story now, and someone had it. Or worse, what might be reading it. The words that escaped us the next morning came with a knot in Anna's stomach. She hadn't slept. The diary was still missing. Keanu arrived early and met her near the trailers. His face was calm, but she could see the worry in his eyes. "Asked wardrobe, props, even the night crew," he said. "No one's seen it." Anna rubbed her hands together, her breath shaky. "Maybe someone picked it up thinking it was a prop." "Maybe," Keanu said. "But if they opened it..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Anna already imagined it, pages read by strangers. Words she wrote at her most vulnerable, being passed around, laughed at, misunderstood. "What if someone shares it?" she whispered. "What if it gets online?" Keanu placed his hand gently over hers. "Then we face it, together." Anna closed her eyes. She wanted to believe him. But fear lived in her bones. It always had. That afternoon, while most of the crew was gone, Sana sat on the empty set's couch, the one they used in the final scene. Keanu joined her quietly. "When I was 15, she said, I wrote in my diary that I wanted to be loved for my soul, not my smile. But even back then I knew it might not happen." Keanu leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You've shown more soul than most people ever will." Anna looked at him. "But if someone reads those pages out of context, then they might finally understand what strength really looks like." She smiled softly, but it faded fast. Her phone buzzed. A text from someone on the makeup team. Anna. Is this your handwriting? Attached was a page from the diary, not just any page, one from the middle, filled with trembling words she'd written during one of her darkest nights in Los Angeles. Her heart stopped. Keanu looked at the screen and his jaw tightened. Where did they find it? Anna typed quickly. Where is this? Did you find my diary? A few seconds later, the reply came. Someone left it in the green room. I didn't know it was yours. I just opened a page. I didn't read more, I promise. Keanu took a breath. Should go now, eh? They reached the green room together. On the small coffee table sat the diary closed. A few crew members were in the room. Chatting casually, Anna walked in quietly, picked it up, and held it close. Keanu scanned the faces. They weren't mocking. In fact, one of the sound guys stood up and walked toward her. Hey, I'm really sorry. Saw it yesterday and thought it was a script. I skimmed a few lines, then realized it wasn't. I put it on the table, hoping someone would come for it. Anna nodded, unsure what to say. Another woman from costume came closer. I read a sentence, she admitted, and it broke my heart. I didn't know it was yours, but it made me feel not alone. Anna looked up, startled. Not alone? She asked softly. The woman nodded. I've been pretending I'm okay for a long time, reading just one page of that diary. It made me feel like someone else understands. Anna blinked slowly. For the first time, the fear in her chest began to melt just a little. Back in her trailer, she opened the diary again. It felt heavier now. It's like it had been through something. But it was safe again, and something inside her had changed. Maybe it wasn't a bad thing, she said to Keanu. Maybe it was meant to be seen, just a little. Keanu nodded. Words can't help anyone if they're locked away forever. Anna bit her lip. Then maybe someday I share parts of it. Not all. It's just the pieces that might help someone else not feel like they're the only one. Keanu placed his hand on hers again. And when you do, I'll be right there. Next few days were quiet, but full of reflection. Anna began copying some diary pages into a new journal. This one wasn't leather dash-bound. It was simpler. Lighter, she said. It was for public truth. The old diary would stay safe, just for them. But the new one? It was for the world. Keanu helped her choose which parts to share. They talked for hours about what words to keep, what to let go, and how much truth people could handle. And through it all, their bond grew deeper. More than friends, something quiet but unbreakable. One night, Anna invited Keanu to her apartment. Not for dinner, not for a script. Just to sit, surrounded by soft light, candles, and music that reminded her of Cuba. I want to show you something, she said. She pulled out an envelope. Inside were old letters. She had written to herself as a teenager. Some were angry, some were sad, but one made her pause. She handed it to Keanu. He read it out loud. Dear future me, I hope you remember that even when you shine, it's okay to rest. It's okay to need someone. You don't have to carry it all. Please don't forget what it cost you to get here. And please, find someone who sees your soul, not just your smile. He looked up at her. Anna whispered, I didn't know it would be you. Keanu didn't speak. He just reached forward and hugged her gently, fully, and she let herself melt into that space. The next morning, Anna posted a message on social media. It read, Some of you know me through films. Some of you through interviews. But none of those show who I am when the lights are off. I've kept a diary since I was a girl, or since someone read it. Instead of judging me, they stood beside me. So I've decided to share a few pieces of my story, not for fame, not for attention, but because maybe someone out there is writing in silence too, and they need to know they aren't alone. She included one page from her new journal. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of comments, messages from strangers who thanked her for her honesty. People who said, I thought I was the only one, Anna cried when she read them. Not from sadness, but from relief. Keanu watched her smile quietly that evening, sitting by her side. He whispered, You did it. Keanu turned to him. No, we did. The night she almost disappeared, Donna stood on the balcony of her small apartment. The city lights blinking gently below, her hands rested on the railing, and the wind brushed against her skin. She could hear distant traffic, laughter from nearby windows, the quiet hum of life moving on. But her mind wasn't here. Her mind was back in time, back to a night she had never written about, a night she had buried so deep. Even the diary hadn't known it. Keanu stepped out quietly behind her. Holding 2 mugs of tea, he offered her one, and she took it without a word. "You're quiet tonight," he said. Anna nodded. Then finally, "There's something I've never told anyone. Not even the diary." Keanu leaned against the wall. Patient Anna stared into the dark horizon. It was 5 years ago, before things got big, before the awards, the headlines, before the world knew my name. She took a slow breath. I was living in a small room in West Hollywood. Barely had enough for rent. I was doing auditions by day and crying myself to sleep by night. She looked down at her tea, then up again. One night I packed everything I had into a suitcase. I was ready to leave. Not just LA, everything. Keanu's grip on his mug tightened, but he didn't interrupt. I went to the bus station with $50 in my pocket. No plan, no destination. I just wanted to disappear, vanish into somewhere no one could ever find me. Her voice broke a little. Sat on that cold bench, holding my suitcase, shaking. And then she paused. A woman sat beside me, old with a face like she'd seen everything. She looked at me and said, "You don't look lost. You look like someone who forgot they were worth finding." Anna's eyes welled up. I still don't know why she said it or who she was. Something in me cracked open. I stood up, went back home, and started writing again. Keanu stepped closer. "You never wrote about it?" "I was too ashamed," she said. "Ashamed that I almost gave up." He gently placed his hand over hers. "You didn't give up. You paused. And that's not shameful. It's human." Nodded, wiping her cheek. "I think I want to write it down now. That story, not in the old diary, but in the new one. So someone else who's sitting on that same bench one day might read it." So the next morning she wrote it all, word by word, page by page. She titled it, "The Night I Almost Disappeared." And when she handed it to Keanu, he read it with tears in his eyes. "This," he said softly, "is the bravest thing you've ever written." Anna looked at him. "Do you think people will understand?" "Not all of them," he said. "The ones who need to, will." Her post went viral. Millions read her story. Magazines picked it up. Interviewers called, but Anna declined. She didn't want the spotlight. She only wanted truth. People began messaging her from all over the world, young actors, students, mothers. Strangers saying her words had saved them. One girl wrote, "I had my suitcase packed too. After reading your story, I unpacked it. Thank you." Anna printed that message and placed it between the pages of her new journal. One evening, as Anna sat on the same studio couch where she once felt broken, the director walked in. "You've started something, Anna," he said. "Something bigger than this film." She looked at him. "It was never about the film," she said. "It was about what we hide behind the scenes." He nodded. "Would you ever consider writing a book?" "Not fiction. Your real story." Anna blinked. "A book?" "Yes," the director said. "I know people. Publishers. But more than that, I think the world needs it. Your story isn't just personal, it's a lifeline." She hesitated, then looked at Keanu, who had just walked in. He smiled. "You're ready," he said, "and I'll help." They started working on it together, not as ghostwriters, not as editors, but as two souls walking side by side through a world of old wounds and new strength. Each chapter came with its own weight. Anna revisited the night she left Cuba, the first time she was told she wasn't American enough, the time she was laughed off a stage because of her accent, the loneliness of hotel rooms. After fame arrived, and the miracle of someone finding a diary under a chair and choosing to care, Keanu added his own reflections. Not to steal her light, but to hold it steady. He wrote about how reading her pain helped him face his own, about how silence is sometimes not strength, but fear, and how choosing to speak quietly, honestly, is the bravest act a person can make. Weeks turned into months. The book began to take shape. Anna titled it, "Pages I Almost Burned." First line read, "This is not a guide. This is not a hero story. This is just a girl who wrote to survive, and a man who chose to read her instead of turning away." On the day they submitted the final manuscript, they sat together in her apartment. No music, no noise, just the sound of two people who had come through the storm. Anna leaned, her head on Keanu's shoulder. "What if it doesn't sell?" she asked. "Then it doesn't," he replied. "But it already did something bigger. It's that it saved you." Anna looked up at him. "And maybe," he added, "it saved me too." But peace never comes without one last test. 2 days before the book was to be announced, Anna received a message from a tabloid reporter, he claimed, to have a leaked copy of her original diary. He wanted a statement, threatened to publish quotes. Anna's hands shook as she read the email. Her past, her raw, her unedited pain might now be twisted for gossip. She turned to Keanu. "I can't go through this again," she said. "Stunt. Want the world to pick me apart?" Keanu took her hands in his. "Then we tell the truth. Before they do." The truth they couldn't twist. Stana sat frozen, her phone still glowing in her hand. The email from the tabloid staring back at her like a threat. Keanu stood beside her, calm but steady. He didn't say anything at first. He let her breathe finally. He said softly, "Truth isn't something to be afraid of, not when you've already owned it." Anna turned to him. "But I didn't share those pages, not the ones they're quoting. Those were for me."
For you?
"And they still are," he said. "Their words are shadows. Yours are the light." She swallowed hard. "If they post those quotes, they'll rip me apart." "Only if you stay silent," Keanu said. "But if you speak first, no one can. Twist your story. They only win if they say it before you do." Anna closed her eyes, held his hand tighter, and nodded. She wasn't that girl on the cold bus bench anymore. She wasn't hiding behind smiles. She was ready that night. A public letter, and posted it across all her social media platforms. No team. No edits. No polish. Just her words. "Someone found pages from a diary I never meant for the world to see. Those words were written in moments of silence, fear, and pain. And while I never planned to share them, I'm not ashamed of them. They are a part of me, just like joy, success, and growth. I won't run from my past. I won't let anyone weaponize my truth. So here it is. Yes, I have felt invisible. Yes, I have wanted to give up. Yes, I have cried on bathroom floors and questioned if I was enough. But I'm still here. And if you've ever felt the same, then maybe these words weren't just mine. Maybe they were always meant to find you too." The response was overwhelming. Not in outrage, but in love. Thousands dashed, then millions of people responded with their own stories. People who had felt voiceless, now finally saying, "Me too." The tabloid never released their article. Maybe they realized there was no scandal in honesty. Maybe it's just lost their power when the truth was told with grace. 2 weeks later, Anna and Keanu appeared together at a small bookshop in New York City for their first public reading of Pages I Almost Burned. No red carpet. No flashing lights, just rows of chairs, a warm lamp, and quiet hearts ready to listen. Anna stood at the front. She opened the book to the first page. Her voice trembled at first, but Keanu sat nearby, giving her a gentle nod. She began to read. "This is not a guide. This is not a hero story. This is just a girl who wrote to survive, a man who chose to read her instead of turning away." The room was silent. No one shifted. No one coughed. They listened like it was their own life being spoken aloud. After the reading, a young woman in the crowd raised her hand. "Did you ever think," she asked, "that letting someone read your pain would turn into this?" Anna smiled. Gently, double quotes, "No, I thought it would break me. But instead, it helped me find the pieces." The crowd clapped not loudly, but with the kind of emotion that feels like respect. After the event, as they walked through a quiet street, Keanu looked Up at the night sky, do you ever think about how this all started? He asked. Yes, Anna said. A chair, a dropped book, a man who could have ignored it. Keanu chuckled softly. But I didn't. No, she whispered. You read it and you didn't run, because I saw myself in it, he said. And I didn't want either of us to keep living in silence. Anna stopped walking and looked at him. You changed my life. Keanu shook his head slowly. You changed your life. I just turned the first page. She stepped closer and took his hand. Then let's keep writing, she said. Together. Together. Months. Past the book became a quiet success. Not viral, not noisy, but steady. It lived on shelves, in hearts, in dorm rooms, in therapist offices, and in the backpacks of people who just needed to know they weren't alone. Anna began giving talks not on fame, but on healing, on writing through pain, on being honest when. The world expected perfect smiles. Keanu stayed close not just as support, but as part of the story. They never confirmed what they were to each other. They didn't need to. Some bonds don't need titles. They're just known. One evening, Dana found the old leather-bound diary again. It was tucked safely in a drawer. Soft and weathered, she flipped through the pages. Some words made her cry. Others made her smile. Then she reached the very last blank page. She picked up a pen and wrote, Dear girl who started this, you were so scared, so brave, so real. You didn't know what would come, but you wrote anyway. Because of that, we're still here. Thank you for holding on. Thank you for not disappearing. I promise to keep telling our story. With love, the woman you became. She closed the diary slowly, turned off the light, and walked out into the night, where Keanu waited by the car. Hands in his pockets, eyes soft and steady, no words needed. They had written enough now. They could simply live.